It was a quiet morning in the small town of Riverside, just outside Los Angeles, one of those neighborhoods where everyone pretends to be friendly, but every smile hides a silent judgment. The air was crisp, the coffee shops full, and life seemed perfectly normal, until the story of one quiet woman named Lena Carter began to unfold. Lena was the kind of person most people never noticed. She worked as a barista at a local cafe called the Grindhouse, a place where students, gym-goers, and office workers gathered every morning. She spoke softly, always kept her hair tied back, and never looked for attention. Some people called her shy, others thought she was weak. But no one really knew what Lena had lived through, the years of silence, the buried pain, the strength she carried in her calmness. Every morning, she would serve coffee to the same regulars. Among them was Jason Briggs, a muscular ex-Marine with a reputation around town. Jason wasn't just intimidating because of his size, it was his attitude, arrogant, loud, and full of the kind of ego that feeds off making others feel small. He would joke about people's accents, their weight, their clothes, anything that made him feel superior. To him, it was just fun, but to those around him, Jason was a walking storm of aggression and insecurity. And then there was Lena, quiet, polite, always smiling, even when Jason made her uncomfortable. He'd throw comments her way like, "Greater than, you look nervous, sweetheart. You sure you can handle working here?" She'd just smile, serve his order, and go back to work. She never reacted, never spoke back. But what Jason didn't know, what no one knew, was that behind Lena's calm exterior lay a past filled with violence, discipline, and loss. Years ago, before moving to Riverside, Lena had trained in Krav Maga, an Israeli self-defense system, taught by her father, a retired military officer. Her father was strict but kind, a man who believed that silence was stronger than anger, and discipline louder than words. When Lena was 16, he told her something that stayed in her heart forever. Greater than, if someone tries to break you, don't prove your strength with noise. Prove it with control. But that was years ago. Her father passed away, life moved on, and Lena buried that part of herself. She became quiet, not because she was weak, but because she had learned that peace is power. Jason, of course, saw her silence as weakness. One afternoon, after his gym session, Jason entered the cafe with two of his buddies. They were laughing loudly, still in their workout clothes, sweaty and full of bravado. The cafe wasn't crowded, just a few customers reading or typing on laptops. Lena was at the counter, wiping down the espresso machine when Jason started his usual routine. "Greater than, hey, sweetheart," he called out, smirking. "Why don't you smile more? You'd get better tips." His friends laughed. Lena kept her composure. "Good afternoon, Jason. What can I get for you today?" "Greater than, oh, she knows my name," Jason chuckled. "Guess we're friends now." She handed him his coffee, but as she turned away, Jason made a mocking comment under his breath, something cruel, racist, and cutting. The laughter that followed was sharp and humiliating. The cafe fell silent for a moment. Lena froze. Her hand trembled slightly. For a second, she thought of ignoring it, as she always had. But then, she saw the face of a young college student sitting in the corner, an Asian girl, eyes down, trying to disappear into her book after hearing the same insult. That look of fear, that same silence, hit Lena harder than any punch could. Something inside her shifted. She turned slowly, her eyes locking onto Jason's. For the first time, she didn't smile. "Greater than, Jason," she said quietly, "do you ever stop?" The cafe was silent. Jason, surprised by her tone, tilted his head. "Greater than, what was that, sweetheart?" "Greater than, I said," Lena repeated, her voice calm but sharp, "do you ever stop humiliating people just to feel strong?" His friends laughed nervously. Jason smirked. "You got a problem with me now." Lena set down the coffee pot gently. "No," she said, "you have a problem with respect." For the first time, the customers started watching, phones subtly raised, recording. The tension was thick enough to choke on. Jason stepped closer, towering over her. His voice dropped. "Greater than, you think you can talk to me like that?" "Greater than, I think you should leave," Lena said, her voice steady. He laughed. "What are you gonna do, little girl? Call the cops? Or maybe you think you can fight me?" Lena didn't answer. She just looked at him, calm, unflinching, like a storm trapped inside still water. Jason's friend, sensing trouble, tried to pull him back. "Dude, chill." But Jason had already crossed the line. He grabbed Lena's wrist. It happened fast. The moment his hand touched her, something in Lena's mind went silent, the world blurred, the noise vanished, and all that existed was instinct. Her body moved on its own, fluid, trained, deliberate. She twisted her wrist, stepping to the side in one smooth motion, breaking his grip effortlessly. Jason stumbled forward, confused. Before he could react, Lena's palm shot upward, striking his jaw with precision. His head snapped back, eyes wide. A gasp rippled through the cafe. Jason staggered, rage flashing across his face. "You just hit me," he charged. "Big mistake." Lena sidestepped, hooked his arm, and in one lightning-fast movement, threw him over her shoulder. The sound of his body hitting the floor was deafening. The coffee cups rattled. People screamed. 30 seconds. That's all it took. Jason lay there, dazed, unable to get up. Lena stood above him, calm, breathing evenly, eyes full of quiet strength. For a moment, no one spoke. Then one customer whispered, "She knocked him out." The silence broke into applause. Phones were out, cameras rolling. Jason's friends dragged him out of the cafe, humiliated, while Lena just walked back behind the counter, fixed her apron, and said softly. By the time Jason Briggs regained consciousness, the video of his defeat was already making its rounds online. It started as a 30-second clip, shaky and recorded from someone's phone inside the cafe. The caption read, "Greater than, racist bully gets what he deserves, quiet barista knocks him out cold." Within an hour, it had over 100,000 views. By evening, it was trending on every platform imaginable. Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, everyone was talking about it. Memes, reactions, edits with dramatic music, the internet had crowned Lena Carter as the silent storm. But while the world celebrated her strength, Lena sat alone in her small apartment that night, staring at her phone, hands trembling. She had spent her entire life avoiding conflict, hiding her past, choosing silence over violence. And now, millions of people were watching her fight. The world saw a hero. But Lena saw something else, a part of herself she had buried long ago. Her phone buzzed nonstop, messages from strangers, journalists, old friends, even her manager. The cafe had become a local landmark overnight. Reporters camped outside, influencers filmed reaction videos, and people lined up not for coffee, but to meet the quiet woman who stood up. Lena didn't show up to work the next day. She sat by her window, the early sunlight filtering through blinds, and watched the street below fill with people holding signs that said, "Respect the quiet ones," and "Silence is power." It was surreal. But the attention wasn't all good. By afternoon, Jason's lawyer had gone on local TV, claiming that Lena had used excessive force, and that Jason was emotionally traumatized. Some online trolls started spinning the story, saying she overreacted, that violence is never the answer. The internet had done what it always does, built someone up, only to start tearing them down. Lena's phone buzzed again, this time, a call from the police. They wanted her to come in to give her statement. She took a deep breath, grabbed her jacket, and walked out of her apartment, trying to keep her head down as cameras flashed outside. At the police station, she sat across from Detective Marcus Hale, a calm, middle-aged man with kind eyes. He had already seen the video, probably a dozen times. "Greater than, Miss Carter," he said gently, "we've reviewed the footage. It's clear you were defending yourself. You're not under arrest. We just need your version of events." Lena nodded, her voice soft. "He grabbed my wrist. I reacted. I didn't mean to hurt him that bad." "Greater than, you didn't," Hale replied. "You stopped the moment he went down. That's self-defense." She exhaled slowly. "Then why does it still feel wrong?" Hale leaned back in his chair. "Because you're not someone who likes hurting people. But sometimes, Miss Carter, the world doesn't give us a choice." That line stuck with her. When she returned home that evening, she found dozens of messages waiting for her, not from reporters but from women and men all over the world. Some wrote about being bullied at work. Others shared stories of racism, humiliation, and silence. One message read, "Greater than, I watched your video 10 times. You didn't just fight back for yourself. You fought for all of us who never could." For the first time since it happened, Lena smiled, not out of pride, but understanding. Maybe what happened wasn't just an accident. Maybe it was necessary. Days passed. The cafe reopened. Crowds still came, but they were different now, respectful, curious, inspired. People whispered when she walked by, not out of gossip, but admiration. She wasn't just Lena the barista anymore. She was Lena the fighter. Jason, meanwhile, became the villain of every comment section online. He avoided the public eye, deleted his accounts, and vanished from the gym. His reputation was shattered. Some said he left town, others said he checked into therapy. No one really knew. Then came the talk show offers. TV networks, podcasts, even motivational platforms wanted Lena to appear, to tell her story. She refused them all. She didn't want fame. She wanted peace. But one email caught her attention, from a local youth center director named Maria Lopez. Greater than, Lena, I run a self-defense program for young women who've faced bullying and abuse. I saw your video. Would you consider visiting us, maybe sharing your story, maybe teaching them what you know? Lena stared at the email for a long time. Her first instinct was to say no. But then she remembered that look, the frightened girl in the corner of the cafe, shrinking into silence. That face haunted her more than anything. So she said yes. The following weekend, Lena walked into the small community gym where Maria's group gathered every Saturday. There were about 15 girls there, some teenagers, some young mothers, all carrying invisible scars. They looked at her like she was a superhero. Greater than, I'm not here to teach you how to fight, Lena began softly, standing in front of them. I'm here to remind you that you already can. She showed them simple movements, how to block, how to breathe, how to stay calm when afraid. But more than that, she taught them something deeper. Greater than, strength, she said, isn't in your fists. It's in your restraint. You don't fight because you're angry. You fight because you have to protect peace. The girls listened, some crying quietly, others nodding in understanding. Word spread fast. Soon, more women started joining, and men, too. The program expanded, funded by donations pouring in from people inspired by the viral clip. Meanwhile, Lena's name became a global symbol. Hashtags like #SilentStrength and #FightForRespect began trending again. This time not for the fight itself, but for the message behind it. Still, Lena stayed humble. She refused interviews, ignored sponsorships, and continued living quietly, working her cafe shifts in the morning and teaching classes in the evening. But sometimes, when she walked past the cafe mirror and saw her reflection, she'd remember that moment, the silence before the fight, the clarity, the control. It wasn't rage. It wasn't revenge. It was balance, the kind her father had always taught her. One night, after closing the cafe, she found a small envelope slipped under the door. No name. Just a note inside. Greater than, thank you for what you did. I was that girl sitting in the corner. You changed how I see myself. Lena held the note for a long time, tears filling her eyes. She realized then, the fight wasn't just 30 seconds long. It had started long before that moment, and it would continue, quietly, in every person who chose strength over fear. As she locked up and walked into the night, the streetlights glowed softly, and for the first time in years, she felt her father's words echo inside her, not as memory, but as truth. Greater than, silence isn't weakness, Lena. It's the space where true strength grows. And somewhere, across millions of screens, people still watched that 30-second clip. Not for the knockout, but for the quiet, powerful look in Lena's eyes right before it happened. A look that said, enough.